are live, Paul, from WeBink 2022 here in the ATL, huh?
I'm excited to be here. It's great seeing everybody in person again after 2.5 years.
Oh my goodness,
So
isn't it? Everybody
Yes.
came so ready to do business, to reconnect, to have fun, and you're doing a lot of that, and you're supporting a lot of that as well.
I am. I'm blessed to work with a company and in a role that I can support diverse-owned businesses, I can support communities, economic empower, health equity, things like that.
Well, when you're at WeBink, you're all about women, and women are coming in from all parts of the world. Even WeConnect,
Yes.
who is a woman, a sponsor of great opportunities as well, has connected in with WeBink this year. And I think NGLCC has connected for several years.
NGLCC, NMSDC, WIP, Women Impacting Public Policy from a governmental perspective. So it's great to see so many organizations working together.
So it's really important for people to understand what all that's about. Before they actually start to Google that, why don't you talk a little bit about what you're doing, because you are a leader in smart procurement. What is smart procurement? Everybody's talking about smart procurement.
So when they are talking about smart procurement, it's having a resilient and agile supply chain that's identified by companies like Bristol Myers Squibb to support it in its various needs. We spend about $12 billion with external companies, and we want to make sure that those companies not only deliver on behalf of us and behalf of our patients, but also reflect the communities where we live and where we work. So that's why we really are intentional about having a diverse supply chain. And what does that mean? It means that from us as a company, identifying what our needs are, and then putting those needs out at events like WeBank to see where those matches can be made.
You guys do a lot more than that, though, because I have to tell you, and I'll disclose that I also am a supplier partner to BMS. And so I speak from a place of knowing, a place of experience. You guys actually support businesses, women-owned businesses, to learn the things they need in order to grow their businesses, not just with you, but on whole. That was pretty unique when you first started doing it, and a lot of the efforts that you beefed up on, you actually were tracking quite well before COVID, before issues of social justice, and certainly before we've had this conversation in my arena around the Great Resignation. Why do you think you were leading in that? What did you know that other people didn't know?
Well, so I think part of it's a passion of both myself, Rondu Vincent, Farron Melton, the Chief Procurement Officer, and our whole team to drive inclusive and smart procurement. It's just a passion. So we want to make sure that at every opportunity that we did that. It's really seeing small and diverse-owned businesses thrive. It's helpful for the economy, it's helpful for us as companies, it's helpful for the patients who we serve.
Well, you know, you talk about it being helpful. Where's the business sense in DE&I? Most of what we've been doing over the last few years where we've come into contact with each other has been around DE&I. Why don't you break it down and talk about why it makes sense?
Well, from a perspective...
SENSE and CENTS.
Yeah, and if you look at it from the Bristol Myers Squibb's perspective, diversity, equity, and inclusion is so very core to who we are about. As a healthcare organization, I think we saw over the last 2.5 years what disparities in health equities causes in our communities, especially the effects of COVID on the African American community. So we want to make sure that we are involved and we can economically empower the communities where our patients are. And all of our diverse suppliers, whether it's women-owned businesses, business of color, LGBT-owned businesses, they also employ people in their communities. So it becomes that triple effect that's really helpful for us in our journey.
You're doing a lot of big stuff. Certainly I've witnessed some of the initiatives that you've led, and I've seen some of the outcomes you've had. What got you here? How did you get to this place?
So when we talk about a career perspective, you know, I'm an engineer by training. I started all my internships with the car companies because I'm from Detroit, Michigan. And this was when agile manufacturing and just-in-time manufacturing was all the rage. with that, you had to work with suppliers. A mentor of mine who was the plant manager, I was starting my career with IBM, said, you have a knack for dealing with suppliers and just the interpersonal nature that requires. And ever since I got into procurement, I've been involved in and around supplier diversity. I've led several category teams, and now I support Farron as the Chief Procurement Officer's Chief of Staff in all of the different initiatives across the globe. So it's really been passionate, and I've really been blessed to be able to do a job that I love every day.
A lot of people are thinking about that, the work that they do, especially as they took work home or lost work from home.
Yes.
You talking about doing work that you love every day and having grown up in the Motor City. Tell us what happened before you got there. What was your childhood like?
So my childhood was great. I have two great parents. They're both deceased now. But my dad was an educator. He was a music teacher. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So
you got music all through your family.
Oh, yes. And she played church organ. So she played the church organ. And, we talked about, I have some gospel music.
Oh, go on and say it.
Yeah, so my first cousin was James Cleveland's manager. And he started the Gospel Music Workshop of America, which is a well-known gospel music organization. So music's always been a part. So corporate life really wasn't. But my mom, and she went back to school when me and my twin brother went back. So she was a later in life student. She said we all had to study engineering because if we're gonna have to come back from college and live in Detroit, we could always work for the auto industry. So they're very pragmatic in that way.
A little bit up above the line.
Yeah, absolutely. But they also instilled doing what you love, and the rest will come. So it wasn't about the number of degrees or the titles that you have or the amount of money. It's doing what you love.
Well, I'm going to close this because I don't need these. We're going to go. I won't say we're going to approach the elephant in the room. What I will say is, Paul, you are describing a career that historically was held by people who didn't look like you, didn't believe like you, didn't love like you. Let's talk about that.
So it's interesting. And, as one's life typically is, it's a journey. So yes, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. I grew up, middle class, in a middle class black neighborhood, but all black. I went to an all black high school, Cass Tech, the high school of Diana Ross.
Yes.
So
there for you.
I was surrounded by students who were going places. I think 80% of my high school went to college. So I didn't see the path that some of my cousins. So I was very privileged in that way. But then later in life, I came out as a gay black man. And so dealing with those intersections has always been difficult for me. Because what I've learned now, over 50, I have a different perspective on things. But back then, I found myself too black for gay spaces and too gay for black spaces. And how do I navigate those different worlds and being my authentic self? And I would say, the job that I have now is probably the first job, and I've been with BMS almost 10 years, that I can live all aspects of my life fully in a way that I never felt, because I said, maybe this will hold me back from achieving certain parts. But definitely, in Pride, now that we're in Pride Month, I'm a very proud gay black man and want to serve as an example for those that are out there who still feel in certain echelons of corporate America that they have to hide and they have to cover.
What's left to do? What profoundly can our family do? My listeners are our family. What can my family do if they wish to support the efforts and the energies around Pride?
So it's interesting. We did a session here at WeBank on allyship and what it means to be an ally. And part of it is just asking genuine questions and be willing to hear the answer and be willing to take the feedback. We had several discussions in 2020 when all of us were talking post-George Floyd, and there were some very uncomfortable conversations. And thank you for coming and talking to BMS about some of your experiences. But we all have these stories that collectively define the fabric of who we all are.
Well, a lot of our family are business owners or aspiring business owners from the buy side. What do they need to know if they're looking to sell into large organizations?
So there's a couple of things. So first, I would say is know what your as a business owner, what is your sweet spot? What are you great at? And what do you want to grow in? But you can't be everything to everybody. There's a lot of times when companies will come and talk to BMS and say, well, what kind of challenges do you have? But I go, but what do you do? So you really have to understand what you do as a business. Then when you come to BMS, you have to understand what I do as a business. So I don't, as BMS, buy lemonade.
Right.
We buy cafeteria services, and I can refer you to who at the cafeteria company, Sodexo, who buys lemonade. But it's not us. So you should know that. So really just understand and do your homework.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And when you do it well, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
What's the important thing for anybody looking, because you get such a window to so many business industries, to so many sizes of businesses. Yep. What over these years of your expertise have you curated that would be the 1-2 kit for anybody going into business to carry with them as they're growing their business? This convention, this area is filled with women business owners. Some of those businesses, I asked a question at one session, and over half of the room has started their businesses during COVID. I think that's very promising
great.
And innovative. They got to sustain and then thrive those businesses. What's the 1-2?
Well, I would say first, learn and listen and network and form relationships with people that can push you. If you're the most successful or the smartest person in the room, find another room. And you should be able to do that with your, close network of colleagues to be able to run business
if
ideas.
You're the smartest person in the room, find another room. Hashtag.
Yeah. So
okay. And what was your second one? That just resonated.
Yeah.
Before we let you guys ask him a question, because this is live. Okay.
So I think the other thing is it's going to take some time. So it's not there's several examples throughout my career, but definitely at BMS, where a company came to me year one at a spot like this, came to me year 2, came to me year 3. Year 4, I actually had an opportunity, was able to bring them in, and they got a contract. But that was 4 years.
Yeah.
And believe people like me who have a passion, who's genuine and authentic, that says, it's going to take some time, but I believe in you. And let's talk, once or twice a year so I can find out what's going on. If I can give any advice, if I don't have an opportunity today, I know my peer in most companies. So can I hand you off to somebody else? Yes,
and I've seen at BMS and some other companies as well, referrals made to your suppliers for smaller businesses.
Yes, and that's the other thing. It's not always, supplier to big company like BMS. It might be supplier to an Ackman Agile one. It might be a supplier to a larger minority-owned business. So we got to be open to those kind of relationships as well. I know everybody wants the marquee name on the website, but sometimes we don't have those direct opportunities.
Well, I know you're leading a session in a few minutes, and this is live, so we're just going to let a couple of people ask you questions.
Okay, great.
So our first question is, okay, we are live. Ask your question.
Yes.
So, after the journey at BMS, right? But what have you seen coming out of COVID and the partnerships with what kind of innovative partnership have you seen?
Paul, repeat her question in case it didn't hear.
So the question was, coming out of COVID, not having attended this event in 2.5 years, what have I seen? And one of the, and you know this individual and company, but during the height of COVID, we were all looking for PPE, and it was hard to find, especially ones that were certified. So one of a supplier who in day-to-day would do trainings at corporate on safety. They would do corporate trainings. That business just shut down because nobody was in. So she was in the process of winding down her business. But she found PPE, and she put out a call and said, does anybody want to buy this PPE? We gave her that first PO. With that PO, she was able to get more PPE and then grow that line of her business. She then became the supplier of PPE in the MBA bubble, and then was able to not only rehire her whole staff and repurpose them, she was able to hire more in the height of COVID. So really, that small business was able to pivot really quickly and become successful. And that's what we're seeing post-COVID. You talk about the number of businesses who even open.
Yes.
People are able to pivot more quickly and think outside the box way more than a lot of the bigger companies.
People are actually deconstructing the box.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know you gotta go, but can you take one more question?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yes, Miss.
I know that we're all here to network and expand in business. What is the best advice you can give someone who is struggling to get to that next level outside of networking and attending events and what else could you?
I would say so two things. Rely and have faith in the power of the network. So if you know somebody who knows somebody, the 6 degrees of separation becomes really like 4, you need 3 or 4. Yeah. In this kind of space. So if you don't know somebody who works for BMS, you know somebody who does, and you got to trust them. And then if for some reason your message isn't resonating, try to talk to practice with somebody, or instead of at the main, because once again, you might not understand everything that we do, so the conversation might seem a little off, but start to practice. I think that would be my advice.
Well,
great question though.
Oh, okay. We'll let you ask. You're going to have to repeat her question
so she
because
said,
we're live.
The question was, what advice do I have for a growing business when they talk to someone like me or someone on my team to get that, to receive that feedback? Because a lot of times it seems like we're kind of brushing them off, and we're not. We're actually giving good feedback. Like, go research what we do first. And believe me when I say, I don't have anything for you today, but come back in a year, come back in 2 years. So I think part of it is you have to be, just like when we talk about allyship in the DE&I space, we gotta be able to give credit, you gotta be able to be inquisitive and ask questions. But you also got to, especially in the ally, say, no, you're kind of wrong here. And let me tell you why you're wrong, but I'm coming from a place of love and respect, and I want you to do that. So take the criticism as to how you approach, because I've gotten so many times where a supplier would come to the booth and say, you guys aren't living up to your DE&I goals because you haven't spent this money. Well, hey, how do you know how much we've spent in diverse-owned communities?
Right.
How do you know what we've done in communities of color? And so you just now took me off. And so let me tell you why that was an inappropriate statement. That's a great question.
Okay, so the question that was sent in, and I know you
Yeah,
gotta
I'm
go.
good.
What do you wish you had known then that you know now? Now, I didn't get it whether that was business or professional.
No.
You go with that, okay?
No, if I would have told my 10-year-old self, and let me tell you why 10 is an important age for me. Most people know when they came out of the closet. I know when I went in the closet. I went in the closet at 10 years old when my aunt, who was a lesbian, was murdered in a domestic violence situation by her girlfriend. And so I saw the pain that caused my family. I said, I'm never going to do that. Even though at 10, I knew I was gay. So it took me another 20 years to come out. And after that, probably another 15 years to be 1,000% okay in the 360 of being, I tell myself on social media that I'm unapologetically Black, unapologetically gay, and unapologetically Christian, trying to uplift communities. That's all I want to do. And I've been very comfortable over the years being a Black man being a gay man and being a Christian, but those intersections is what has caused me the most pain. So being able to work through those intersections is what has brought me the most fulfillment at now 52 years old.
So what would you have told 10-year-old Paul?
It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay. And to be able to do the kind of work that I do with a company like Bristol Myers Squibb that's that's changing lives. I had a bout with cancer last year, so to work for a company that actually works to solve and take away that pain from cancer. So if I didn't know that I'd, as a part of my job, do Power to Impact community events, which you've participated in several, where we're able to bring successful entrepreneurs, successful executives we went to my high school. We've gone to community centers all across this country. To say I could do that and still get paid for it.
I've gone to my prayer pillow for you.
Yeah, I know you
as
have.
well.
Yeah, I know you have, and vice versa. But to say I could do that and get paid, I would have never believed you. I would have never believed you.
Paul says we're going to be okay, live audience, live family. I think that's what a lot of people are listening for. Are we going to be okay? I'm gonna take that and I'm going to raise in one. We're going to be fantastic because we got everything we need to be everything we need to be. Let's be that. And be that what, Paul? Unapologetic.
Unapologetically. Yes. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.